All right, why does everybody love Andrew Tate? So I brought up Andrew Tate to you guys, and I think Yaro and Andrew, you guys don't really know Andrew Tate. Tom kind of has an idea from his fighting career. I just discovered him not too long ago. So I'm going to fill you guys in a little bit about Andrew Tate. So about 2 months ago, my cousin, who's out in Ontario, he asked me my opinion on Andrew Tate, and he wanted to join his mastermind or his program or something. So I was like, I don't know who that is. And then he sends it to me. He's like, you don't know who it is? And he sends me the stuff. And I look at it. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, he's a fighter. Maybe he's good. I watched a few of his videos. And I was like, how much is this program? And he told me it was like $50 a month. I'm like, oh yeah, like $50 a month. Go for it. Like, what do you got to lose? When he told me it was like, I can't remember how he called it, like a mastermind or something. I thought he was going to spend like a lot of money on it. And he's not an experienced marketing person. He's new, right? So I thought he was going to spend like 5-10 grand, right? So I was like $50. I'm like, go for it. Any community is good because, community is a great way to kind of network, meet with people, right? Then fast forward, the next few weeks, I keep getting people sending me these ridiculous Andrew Tate takes, right? My girlfriend was sending me these things too. And so she used to just refer to him as the stupid guy. So anytime she's like, oh, the stupid guy said whatever, right? We just knew who the stupid guy was, right? And so then, I start seeing everyone starts talking about Andrew Tate in the last like few weeks, right? And so I started kind of really looking at his content, and I think he's, very funny. And people are always questioning whether he's acting or he's being serious. And then he ends up on the Full Send podcast with the Nelk Boys. And after I watched that, I was like, Andrew Tate is definitely top G. So there's a few things to love and hate about him. So what I think is interesting is that he's very polarizing. Okay, he's very much on the masculine energy side of things, and I think that he's definitely purposely saying things to kind of get a reaction for people, right? Saying somewhat offensive things. He even says, he's like, yeah, call me a sexist. I'm a sexist, and he'll just say some ridiculous stuff.
Who calls the police on Joe? Cat owners. I mean, if you're a really good friend, no, not even if you're a friend. If you're my friend, you just can't be a well, I had a heart attack. Get up.
Bodybuilding is a beauty pageant where dudes try their best to put on muscle so other dudes can say, you're the best looking dude. It's gay.
I want you to listen to a song and every 11 to 12 seconds say, oh my God, over it. And after an hour, I guarantee you feel like murdering someone.
All right, so you guys haven't seen all this crazy stuff yet, right? And I know after the show, you guys are going to go watch it. But what's your take on getting attention by just saying crazy stuff and being polarizing?
I'll kick things off. I definitely saw a few shocking comments. I saw him make, and I mean, I'm just coming across Andrew Tate recently I'd never heard of the guy before. And I was having a conversation with this big YouTuber that mentioned the name and mentioned it in a derogatory kind of way. So I'm like, okay, what the hell is this? What's this all about? So I did a little bit of digging, found out that he made some comment about how he would never provide CPR to a man in distress because he thinks it's too gay. Former first responder here, Coast Guard rescue diver, firefighter, you name it. And a lot of my friends are gay. And I'm like, so saying these outlandish, shocking things, I think it's a puff of smoke. I think it's a freaking puff of smoke. I think he's here today. He'll be gone tomorrow. That's how I feel about it.
Really? Okay. Because he also said that he was on a flight and the pilot was female, so he got off the flight because he's like, women can't drive cars. How am I going to trust them to drive my plane? Right. So I think what it is like, how there's like extreme feminist and there's a lot of extreme feminism kind of, I will say in our culture and on the internet from my perspective, what I've seen anyways. Right. But there's not a lot of extreme masculinity. Right.
Is this extreme masculinity though, Matt? I don't think it is.
What do you think
extreme.
It is?
He's like he's almost like. Have you ever seen the Chad meme?
No.
The Chad, no. CHAD, I think. Chad.
No, what's that?
It's like the Chad meme. He's like a living Chad meme. I'm not going to make people do homework. I think that should pull up. It's like this idea of like this archetypal man, and it's kind of just super over the top. And it comes from, it's like one of those just strange memes, but I almost feel like he's almost like acting out what that type of character would be in real life. Does that make sense with his comments? They're so over the top.
Like a Johnny,
but
a Johnny Bravo, Dan Bazarian.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm hearing you.
Yeah.
American Dad.
But what's funny is that he'll say crazy things, but he also says things that make a lot of sense, right? Like I saw a clip of him saying, if aliens come to Earth, they're going to be like, humans are so stupid. We're still fighting over the color of our skin, right? And then there's other stuff like business-wise advice that he's actually, I think is pretty good. I think his audience is going to be the young 20-somethings. I don't know what you call that, the Gen Ys or whatever. And so some people are concerned that he's having too much influence on some young men who might take some of these statements very seriously and then be derogatory towards women, which would not be a good thing, right? But there's also the flip side of like, there's that famous book. It's called No More Mr. Nice Guy, because a lot of guys have like nice guy syndrome. I haven't read the book. I'm aware of a lot of guys referencing that book. There's some guys that are just like too nice, whereas he's like a complete asshole, right? So I think it creates this kind of like this pull, even like in politics where it's become very divided. It's like everyone's gone really far to either the right or the left, right? And there's not so much more like people within the middle and who are controlling the politics right now, right? So I feel like that's why what he's doing, I personally think it's important. I think it's great. Even though I don't agree with what he's saying, I don't think he agrees. I think he is just, in a sense, messing with people, right? And he's getting a lot of exposure. And he's making these statements and having people kind of have conversations and question whether they agree or don't agree. And for the most part, a lot of these crazy things, even I saw Joe Rogan talk about him, Patrick Vaughn Davis from Valuetainment, H3H3. A lot of really big influencers, very respectable people are all saying, this is really good. It's really good that he's saying these things, creating these conversations. And for the most part, he's a comedian. He's joking, right? People are taking him too seriously.
You just said before, Matt, that he was making a comment about aliens and therefore making a statement about like we're still fighting about color of our skin, which seems very pro-progression. But then he's getting off a plane where he's afraid that a woman's flying it, which is the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So first of all, I don't give clearly it's not about credibility. He just wants to inflame opinions and get attention. That's the way I would look at that, which is such an old playbook. I mean, you guys in the America got a president using that playbook. I think it's fair to say Donald Trump just constantly used that where you're going to pick something polarizing, get a lot of press coverage, got a lot of people talking about you. And it doesn't matter whether it's good or bad, it's attention. And then away you go. No such thing as bad publicity, the oldest statement about PR ever. I think, though, it's worrying, like you said, if people start to believe that, and then it does reinforce stereotypes that are not good for society. And also it makes it seem like everyone should be allowed to say anything they want and not have any kind of ramifications. Like it's different I have trouble with comedians because I never understand why a comedian can stand on stage and say ridiculous things that you would never say to someone in a conversation and have it be okay, yet it's okay on a comedic stage. And even that's like, where's the line drawn? So for marketing purposes, if we just talk about marketing, sure, I think it's very smart and it works. But I would not want to be that person who's having to talk about what I say all the time and defend something or, that's why I'm not a comedian on stage as well. So.
Well, comedy, good comedy is about, or I won't say good comedy. I'll just say comedy at one level of comedy. I don't know if it's good, but it's about punching up. Cause like it's like comedy punching down. That's not really comedy, So I think part of the role of the comedian in a way is punching up at whatever that is. And sometimes that's the state or whatever, or the king, if we're talking like old court gesture style, right? But there's definitely a role that's to be played there. If that makes sense, as somebody who can speak up and punch up, whatever that is.
Yeah, I was at the Andrew Schultz show, and he was talking about how when people come to a comedy show, they all let go of whatever they get offended, their beliefs or whatever they get offended about, and you just go there to relax and just have fun and enjoy. And it's a way to kind of let go and be accepting of everybody and everyone's ideas. He said it in a more elegant way, but I thought that was also a very powerful statement. other thing, just on the marketing side of Andrew Tate, what I think is really great too is that because he's saying so much crazy stuff, he's like uncancelable. Like you can't cancel him because he's said so much crazy stuff that it's like if he cared, yeah. And but also on the marketing side, what he's been doing is when you join his community or mastermind, I don't know which level, either at the $50 a month or his other thing, which I think he said was $5,000 a year. What he does is he gets people to do tasks. And then I think when you pay $5,000 a year, he said that you can be kicked out at any time if you don't perform. So you have to do certain things, keeps people accountable, which I think is very interesting. I don't know. I didn't look that deep into like what the program involves. But what he does is he allows everyone in his community to use his content and create their own channels and profiles. So he does have his own profiles, but there's probably hundreds, right? I think he mentioned how many members he had was, I forget, but it was in the several thousands of members that he has in this $50 a month thing. But there's so many profiles posting his content. That's how he's everywhere. That's how he got so big so fast. This all happened in the last like 3 months. And so now, even if he gets canceled and they delete his channel or whatever, right? There's still hundreds of channels with Andrew Tate's content. So it's like they have to go around trying to find all these channels and, remove them for all these various reasons. Like, what are they going to do? Just remove anything with Andrew Tate?
Keyword Andrew Tate, delete.
Right, so that's why it's going to be very hard to get him off the internet because he just lets everybody just use his content, which is great, right? You look at like how Gary Vee does it too. Gary Vee there's a few fan channels of people taking Gary Vee's content, spinning it, so on. So it's a very interesting strategy.
Yeah, I don't think the few negative, not the few negative, I don't think any negative thing that anyone says immediately makes you a bad person. But I do believe at my core that there's no sustainability in tearing anyone down, whether you're tearing women down, animals down, people of different color down, people of different religious backgrounds down. There's no sustainability. I mean, we're just going to end up talking in circles, I think, but I can immediately pull out like 12 examples of people who build up. Their brand will trump the other person that is tearing other people down. That's just how I believe in my fundamental understanding of marketing, because positive energy, there's just no beating positive energy. If you're a negative energy type person, and your days are numbered. That's just how I feel about it. I don't know if he's a bad person. I don't know him, but the few things that I've learned about what he says, I don't agree with his approach.
What's funny about it is that, he does, I would say, talk down about women. And I don't like that part of it as well. But when he was on the Full Send podcast, he explained very explicitly how he was basically ripping off men. He ran a company where he had like webcam girls that were basically scamming, rich guys for millions of dollars. He said he was making over $1 million a week. So it's like, this is pretty bad. I would say that's pretty unethical, and then the police were after him, whatever. And then that's why he stopped, it's like, but he's just fully admitting this whole thing on the podcast, which again, I admire that. Like you can't, he's not going to, CoffeeZilla is not going to make a video exposing him. He just exposed himself, So I really appreciate someone who just doesn't care about getting canceled and it just, he's unapologetically himself and whatever his opinions are. I don't agree with all of his opinions. I just like the approach, and I'm happy that he's there. And I think at this point, he's an important person on the internet right now. I do agree that he is the top G. Right. Oh yeah. And sorry. Last thing here. Tom found this, that apparently he's going to be fighting Jake Paul. So he did talk about potentially whether he would fight Jake Paul or not. And he was saying about what if it was worth the money and this and that. I think that Jake Paul will kick Andrew Tate's ass. That's my prediction. But we'll see if that actually happens.
Yeah, it looks like it could be an interesting pair up because, again, I feel like Andrew Tate kind of came out of left field. Like, it's all of a sudden, right? I think that's like...
It's the last 3 months.
I don't know. I guess he's been going for a while. Yeah, right? So kind of out of nowhere. And it's like this rising flame or whatever it is, and to meet with Jake Paul, I think there's a lot of marketing power behind those two names meeting, like in clashing.
Well, he called out,
which is just
he called out Jake Paul for a fight like a few months ago. When he was on the Full Send podcast, I asked him about it. Like, would you fight him? And then he's like, I would have to train for 6 months and this and that. He's like, I'm already making millions of dollars. It's not worth it, but I would, that sort of thing. So I think probably the amount of exposure he would get if he fights Jake Paul, personally, I think that would be the biggest matchup for like YouTuber matchup sort of thing, right? I think it will be to the level of Logan Paul fighting Mayweather. Right? I think it's probably the number one person that Jake Paul could fight right now is going to be Andrew Tate. So it would be interesting if that actually happens.